Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of 89 Questions, the show where I, Nick TF89 or 89, will be answering your questions. It's like 20 questions, but with 89 instead of a 20. There's no significance to that, though, once we hit 89. Nothing will happen, probably, maybe. There's no real format to this show. I'm just going to be sitting in front of, behind whatever set I currently have up, with a couple characters and objects sprinkled in. So, yeah, I'm just going to answer some questions and save some for later, and we'll see how this goes. Our first set of questions come from Sodor Express Studios. They ask, 1. How did you get to know Cedric Legend so well? Well, kind of the same way that you would get to know anyone well. I just talked to him a lot. We started talking over Skype in late 2015, early 2016, and now he's basically my best friend. So, yeah, just talk to people, really. That's all I can say for that. What's 6 times 3? Let me just get my TI-84. That costs $90. It is 18, if the camera can focus on that or not. Yeah, 6 times 3 is 18. So when I finish a question, I'm just going to favorite it. If I go to a comment, I only answer a couple, or one of the two, or just a few of them for a video, I'm just going to like it. So if I favorite it, then it's done. Our next question comes from the model trainer, which says, before Timothy took Thomas's body, could he possess, but eventually he would have to leave? So I think what this question is asking is, before Timothy possessed Thomas's body, would he be able to stay or leave? Before he took Thomas's body, could he possess, but eventually he would have to leave? So Thomas is not the first character that he has possessed. He's also possessed characters after, such as the 3-plank truck and 089. But it's a lot harder to possess something that is alive, because they can put up a fight, they can put up resistance, kind of like how Zero does when he thinks about something that shocks Timothy. We don't know what that is, because we don't see it, but it was pretty disturbing. There are also previous victims of Timothy, as shown in episodes 30 and 31. When he says other host vessels, we see 2 of them alive, and then we see the remains of them in the scrapyard in episode 30, as well as several other engines, which didn't work out very well. So he can possess, but he will have to leave if there is some sort of resistance put up to him. How did you get your videos to become so good? That's the thing. I didn't. You just think they are. The vocal minority says they're good, which becomes the majority, and so the subjective opinion is that I just make good content, which, I mean, maybe. I think it's pretty decent, but it depends who you ask. That's just an opinion. In like, how did I get to this point? A lot of strain on my back and sleepless nights, as well as money and a lot of sweat. Basically just work hard, keep practicing what you're doing. I mean, it doesn't matter where you start from. You can be pushing with your hands, pulling with a string on the floor outside, on a table, whatever. Just keep practicing. Practice makes permanent. And you will create your own style eventually. So just start and keep going from there. Our next questions come from Trainmania19. The first one, what is one of your favorite customs you have made? So, not my favorite, but just one of them. I'm pretty fond of this guy. This is just a yellow tanker based off of an illustration from Percy Takes the Plunge, I think? One of the Percy stories in the Railway series. I'll put it on the screen. I like it. It's pretty simple. I think I captured the face pretty well. And, yeah, it's just a basic yellow tanker. It can be holding whatever it is needed for the scene. I like it. It's one of my favorites. What is one of your favorite characters? Well, in terms of actual Thomas, one of my favorite characters, well, aside from the obvious, just one that I don't really talk about much would be Marion. Marion is really cool. She's funny. Whenever she's on screen, it's just enjoyable to watch. I don't care if the episode's good or bad. If Marion appears, then I probably enjoyed it. And Olivia Colman does a great job voicing her. If anybody else had that role, I don't think Marion would be nearly as entertaining to me. So yeah, Marion, she's cool. She'd probably be at like number 3 or 4 or 5 on my top favorite characters list. In terms of a character for my series, though, because this not all of these are specific, one of my favorite characters in my own series would have to be General Phoenix. We haven't really seen much of his story yet. We are very close to getting to his episode. It is very, very near. So far, we've only seen him pretty much in 24, 29, and 30. That's his only significant roles. He's also had a couple minor roles. But the fact that he's this general, and he sees it as his personal mission to come to Sodor to help out the Fat Controller, take out this bad guy, and then he does absolutely nothing when they're directly next to each other. We'll be getting to see just what that all was about pretty soon. Very soon. Like potentially the next 2 episodes soon. Our next question comes from Comic Fan 13. How much coal could an engine burn if an engine could burn coal? Well, I think that's a very insightful question. An engine could burn coal, how much coal could an engine burn if an engine could burn coal? That would all depend on if the engine can even burn coal or not. I mean, what if it's a diesel? Then that engine can't burn that much coal, because the engine can't burn coal. But if the engine can burn coal, then they'd probably be able to burn as much coal as an engine could burn. I'm going to move on. Our next question comes from Oliver Duck Productions. How is Ivo Hugh on standard gauge track? Because Ivo Hugh is a standard gauge engine. In this series, at least. He was built that way. He's a big boy. He's not a narrow guy. And, yeah. He just is a standard gauge engine in this series. Who's your favorite character? That one. The turquoise one. He's cool. I like him. Next, we have Thomas Fan 34, and they ask, if you could bring back 3 characters, who would they be? In terms of actual Thomas, well, this was asked before the new reboot was announced, so I don't want to bring back anybody for that. But, if we're going off of, like, Blubba or Season 20 era, bring back Boko, Thumper, and Boulder. That would be entertaining. In terms of my series, I would probably want to bring back Rusty, Salty, and who else is dead? Den. Den was going to come back in episode 30 as in Zero's little premonition type sequence, and the scene where he's getting advice and a pep talk from those that have passed on, but he couldn't fit. He was just too cluttered for the scene. Literally too cluttered. Like, I couldn't fit him in the tiny set that was filmed on. So, that's who I would bring back in that scene. Well, I was going to, but I didn't. How do relationships work in the series? So, relationships work kind of the same way that they do in real life. Person A meets person B, they talk, they get along, they get to know each other, they form a relationship, whether that be just acquaintances, co-workers, friends, or romantic. If this question, I think it might be asking for romantic. How does that work? The only instance of relationships we've seen so far are Zero and Lady. Stated in Season 2 that they were together. The thing is, though, that's obviously pretty different than a human relationship. Obviously because, well, it's more so of just a spoken thing. Just the talking and doing things together aspect. Obviously, engines can't do anything physical, like hugging or kissing, because, no arms, no legs, no nothing. They have these things called buffer beams, and they just kind of are, like, below their chins, and they're just, like, they smack together. You can't, they don't have any type of, like, face-to-face contact. So, it's more of just a spoken thing, more of a thing that just exists. Like, these two are a thing. That's that. That aspect of the series hasn't really been touched upon in a while. We will be seeing it again soon, but it's just more of a spoken thing. Our next question comes from Sans Peter Griffin. Will you bring back Thomas back to life at some point in the series? It's a little weird without him. That's my awful Peter impression. No. No, I will not. Our next set of questions come from Splatter the Shiny Umbron's second... the rest of the name is gone. Hi Nick, it's me, your favorite Shiny Umbron. I just want to ask 2 small questions for the Q&A. 1. What do you think of Lexi and the videos of her that I made? So this is not about Lexi, the JBS character. It's about Lexi the cat. Pretty cool. Cats are cool. They're neat. I don't know. I don't really think that much about cats. So, and number 2, do you think that me and 089 are an adorable ship? Well, I haven't really seen much of you and him's dynamic, your character interaction. That's kind of what I base if I ship characters on or not, how they get along, how they, interact with each other. So, actually, I don't. I don't think it's an adorable ship, just because I haven't seen it much. I haven't seen much of it. Next up, we have Nerdy Gordon. Days of Dennis and Quest 89 crossover when? After Cedric Legends 89. There's already a crossover with my series planned with the Cedric Legend and Rytron 12 series. It's been in the works for a very long time. We don't know when we're going to get to it. One of the biggest things that's been holding us up is the fact that we need to make a custom model for the antagonist. Well, I do. And I was working pretty hard on that before COVID, and then I didn't have access to the software I was using to make it anymore for a little while, and be able to 3D print the character's model. But I am now building a model of that antagonist without printing it. So after that, we'll probably get started finishing up the writing and filming in the next few years, maybe. So I'm going to say Quest 89 and Days of Dennis crossover, maybe at some point in the next decade. Next we have Epic Entertainment Films, who asks a lot of questions, so we're just going to pick a few of them for now. What are your thoughts on hashtag Tatmar parody? I actually say Tatmir, and I've been having to correct myself the whole time, because people say Tatmar, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I always say Tatmir. So for those of you who don't know, the Tatmar parody is a 3-ish, 4-hour, depending if the deleted scenes are in it or not, 4-hour parody / rewrite of the Thomas the Magic Railroad director's cut. It's a parody adaptation done by Mr. Conductor Fan 1406 and several other people, and it took like 4 years to make, I believe. It's really entertaining. I thought it was great. I love the jokes. I love the style, the character arcs and everything. I don't know. I don't know how to summarize it, but it's really good. It's, I guess, peak fan content, some people are saying that's what it is, and I'd have to agree. Don't watch it if you're a kid, though. Like, if you are below, I don't know, 13 or so, I would not recommend watching it. There's a lot of not kid-friendly stuff in there. It's really funny, though. I'm an adult, so I can watch it. What are your plans for the channel after Quest 89 is concluded? Well, it's probably not going to be concluded for a very, very long time, which is nice, but also sad. I've been busy with middle school, high school, and now college, so that really puts this on the back burner. We're almost at like the halfway point of the series, so after it's over, I'm just gonna assume I'm gonna be in my 30s by the time it's over, because of the rate I'm going now. It's just so slow. After it's over, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might, still make like little shorts or something, or do like a spin-off or something like that. Just like keep making videos of some sort, but nothing on a huge scale like this. Plans after Quest 89's over? I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. What is your rarest TTTE item? My rarest wooden item would probably be the gray-faced troublesome truck. After that, I don't know what my just overall Thomas item would be. because I do have some Trackmaster and Take Along, Take and Play, Adventures, and some other things, but I'm gonna have to say it's my gray face. What hobbies do you have outside of Thomas and Friends? Well, outside of this, I enjoy Lego, whether that's just like building or collecting. We've got some stuff over there. I also enjoy just drawing, whether that be related to this or not. I usually draw characters from another hobby I have, Dungeons and Dragons, whether that be me being a dungeon master or me just like playing with other friends. Aside from that, I do read sometimes, so mostly like reading, drawing, sometimes doing Lego stuff. Like, I don't know, once every so often I just buy a new set, but it's mostly this. Next we have a question from SwankSteam7579. What inspired you to make the character 089? Well, what inspired me to make him was the Timothy the Ghost Engine creepypasta. It's kind of a reversal of that. Zero is meant to be the good version of Timothy, and that's always been like the underlying goal since I made him. I saw in a comment on one of the videos when I was like 10, it just said like the engine's number was 0 or 89. I don't know who that was, but because of you, I have like a series now, so thanks. So I was like, well, if Timothy is 0, then 089 is his opposite. He's the good guy. So that's kind of where that came from. So in Season 3, when Timothy is introduced, it's a callback to that. Our next question comes from Mar-P. If 089 was any other tank engine model, which would it be? So there are a couple options. Right here is this blue engine, custom I made. This is like a bigger tank engine, slightly longer than Thomas. This is an option. I would like to maybe do a 0 out of this. That's cool. I don't know, I don't really think about that much. However, there is one option. Steven Comes to Sodor. Before I decided that 0 would be an E2, I was originally going to use the Stevenson's Rocket Steven character. The Steven Comes to Sodor, the brown one where he's like all in poor condition. That was going to be Zero's original form. But I went with Thomas's model to make it more similar to Thomas and the Timothy story. So, probably the blue engine. If not that, then I don't know. I'm not really concerned with his shape or the fact that he's a recolor. Just how it is. I apologize for background sound. I can't control people cutting the grass or weeding their weed whackers. Next we have NeilFan18 Productions. How many seasons will you have? 7. There was originally going to be just 5, but season 4 I split into 4, 5, and 6 to make even seasons of 10. Will there be a spin-off? We already touched upon this earlier. Maybe, maybe not. How did 089 change personalities? So, every character's personality has changed, or is in the process of changing. He started out very dim-witted, or I guess misinformed would be a better word, when he comes out of the shed in Origins of 089, which desperately needs remastering. He's just asking a ton of questions like, what's this? What's that? What is train? How do I shunt? How do I do this? And he gets sent out to Tankopia. He learns from Chance how to shunt, how to do this, how to be an engine. And over the course of the film, he realizes that, well, he learns that things aren't as they seem, and there are some bad people out there. So he tries to sacrifice himself to save his friends, and Lady steps in and saves him and says, that's not what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to find X, Y, and Z, and be their leader, and be there for them. And so Zero goes off to watch Connor and some other characters, and he grows from there. He eventually learns in Season 2 just who he is, what he was built for, what he was made to do, and that hits him pretty hard. But he comes back, and he does what he's got to do, and he goes from there. I'm trying not to spoil everything for people, even though I'm going to remaster those and change some things. So he goes from being being a loser to being a leader. And currently, he's dealing with the fact that he might not have been the first leader. But, more about that in season 4. Actually, that episode's already out, but yeah. Where would you suggest getting cheap Wooden Railway items, not knockoffs? Well, one is eBay, because, online you can't buy these in stores anymore. But number 2, flea markets or train shows. You can get a lot of good stuff from flea markets or train shows, mostly because the people selling them are, parents or grandparents or adults. And not to sound like rude or anything, but a lot of them don't realize that they are selling things that people on eBay jack the price all over the place. Like they just sell things for crazy amounts of money. You can get stuff at a flea market or a train show for pretty cheap. I'd just be careful about looking for those now during these times where it's not necessarily safe to be in a big group of people or, in a crowd or just outside in general. So just be careful with that, but flea markets or a train show is definitely what I would recommend for getting things for cheap. Alright, so the last question for this I'm just going to answer from Juaxio120 channel? I probably butchered that. Question: what is your favorite custom? Well, usually my favorite one will be the newest one whenever I've finished. So, most recent custom I made was Toad. Zero Rail Studios sent me an old style Toad, and I slapped a new face on it. I was like, there's a Toad. That's my most recent one, though. My favorite would have to be my Vickerstown Bridge, which I'll be doing a custom segment on pretty soon. Don't know when, but it'll be soon. So, definitely the bridge. I just enjoy making structures and rolling stock more than engines, even though I guess engines can be considered rolling stock somehow. Those are all the questions I'll be covering today. There are a ton more, a lot more. Some of you asked in the double digits for some of your comments. I don't know how I'm going to have to just do one episode per person for some of these. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If not, then whoops. But yeah, this is it for episode 1 of 89 questions. Ask some more questions if you want, or don't. I have a surplus of ones to get through. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.